Welcome to Channel AMAC, your insight to the Australian visa system. G'day everyone, my name is Carl Young, your online YouTube visa consultant. Are you interested about migrate to Australia? Why don't you consider to subscribe to my channel and turn on the bell on the side so once we have all the updates and news, be the first one getting all the insight. Now, exciting year, isn't it? As we have looking into a new year with opening on the skill migration, shall I say? Although, despite the decision has been made to increase the annual intake from 160,000 to 195,000, the delay and backlog is still existed. However, be patient. I believe the government of Australia and the new Labor Albanese government will have that fixed by end of the year, and I think towards the early next year everything will be smoothed up anyway. Now, in this video I would like to discuss one of the topic maybe you probably have ever heard if you have applied for a skill migration, is the term name at the time of invitation or at the time of application. Have you heard about that phrase? Well, obviously during your processing of this visa application, the technicality and the legality of these policies is actually very, very vital. Now, what does that mean? Now, I'm going to take you through numbers of regulations and detail and explain it to you. Have you received, and because I've recently received comments and inquiries that, oh, I have received the invitation, but looks like my skill assessment has expired, or looks like my IELTS or my PT results has expired. What do I do? Now, my answer to that is, well, the invitation has just been wasted. Why? Let's have a look. Now, first of all, you need to get familiar with the skills select system, and the keyword here is the invitation rounds. Obviously, we are very watching on the actual every single round to actually dictate and find out the current solution and what occupation has been popular and be picked up and to be invited. But today's video, I would like to discuss a detail of this word invitation. Now, obviously, well, it's a pretty simple definition by invitation that basically meant, well, the government invited me to become a permanent resident, or become to hold a subclass 190, that's a permanent resident, or a regional skill work visa 491. But there is so much detail in that invitation. Now, obviously, you know about getting invited. You are required to pass some points. If you're in 189 visa, obviously I've gone through a lot of videos and detail with all the state and territory criteria talking about all these points. Now, it's very easy to understand, but a lot of people had tried to do a DIY, or perhaps you had actually found an agent or lawyer, well, they mislook and overlooked in the definition of how at the time of invitation actually applies to this policy and law. It's actually very important, because if those documents is expired or are expired at the time of invitation or application, then that would deem to be wasted and not meeting the visa criteria to actually get grant. If you already paid for the visa application, then all that fee is wasted. And all the time that you have waited for, 2 years, 1 year, couple months, all wasted. Now, where do we find that? We need to go into the detail law. Now, let me take you to the actual regulation, subclass 189. Now, this is across all the same with all the skill migrations, so 190 and 491 as well. So if we scroll down, obviously, you will see a detail clauses in regards to actually meeting the requirements. So obviously we are at the section where it's for point test stream. So if you wanted to migrate through your skills by means you're meeting the points, either it's going to be 65 or you choose New South Wales to aim at 110. It's up to you. Now, if we look at 189.222, you start seeing this. Now, subclause 1, at the time of invitation to apply this visa. Now, what this subclause is actually trying to find out is whether or not you already have a skill assessment. As you can see, it does have a skill assessment, and the skill assessment will be valid for the period of 3 years prior to at the time of this invitation. So what does that mean? What does all this mean? It's very legal and very logical. So how can I explain this? Basically, it's testing at the time. For example, today is what? It's the 13th October 2022. I received an invitation. So my occupation picked was accountant, for example. Then at that time, today, 13th of October 2022, do I have a valid skill assessment? If my skill assessment was done in 2017, that means even if I got invited, it's all wasted, right? But if I have my skill assessment done in 2021, what does that mean? That means it's still valid. Then I'll pass that. I'll get that pass. Now further onwards, if we go further down, you will see the regulation continue to use these kind of phrases. So clause 189.223, it says at the time of invitation, and you have a competent English. So what does that mean? So again, we go into the scenario. Today is the 13th of October 2022. I got invited with the occupation accountant. Now in my EOI, I claim that I have IELTS 7777. Right, I did have it. But if that IELTS result have a date back in 2016, would I meet this requirement? No. The invitation will be wasted. Okay? But if my IELTS result has a date of 2000 and perhaps let's pick 2020, would that meet the requirement? Yes, 2 years plus, that's fine. I still meet that requirement. So then I'll give a big tick to meet the criteria, the clause 189.223, and this will go onwards and onwards and onwards, as you can see with clause 189.224. Continue to say that, but not at the beginning of the clause. It's at the end of the clause. So the stated your point invitation to apply at the visa. So it's actually very, very important. Now, let me give you the reason I wanted to do this video is that I have received so many messages over the past month in regards to people haven't really updated their IELTS result or their skill assessment. So what would that do? What would that do to you? If your skill assessment only expire one day, so for example, the expiry day is the 12th October 2022, and you get invited on the 13th October 2022, what will happen to you? Well, you may as well get the invitation and apply, but your visa will not be granted. And that is the difficulty there, that you need to continue to look into those details and make sure all of your information declared at EOI is valid and also current. Okay, a lot of people have put an EOI in. They probably haven't even. They dream. They hope. Tomorrow I will get that IELTS. But today I just put my IELTS in with 4 8s. That's fine. But when at the time of invitation, do you have that proof of IELTS result? At the day with a valid date on that, and passing that criteria of what you have actually claimed. Now that is the key here. So a lot of people put a lot of EOI in and failed at the application stage. And if you do not understand this, you probably already pay the visa application fee, then what would that do to you? Waste it. All right, so it's very important that I want to pass this message to everybody. I knew I have spoken this probably in my channel long ago, but haven't really done a specific video on this one. So I wanted to share all this information to you. So make sure after you watch, share with your friends. Make sure all those documents that you have and put it in your EOI is valid at the date, and keep it current. Otherwise, at the time when they invited you and then you notice that the document is already expired, then bad luck. Everything, all the efforts, money put it in, will be wasted. Anyway, should you have more question, query, more than welcome to leave comment right down below. And I'll see you next video. Goodbye.